Okay, thank you, Grace. Yeah, go for it.
Get started.
Yep.
And okay, a couple things before we jump into the practice is just kind of swing your arms around and make sure that you're not going to whack anybody if you fling your arms around, because we're going to be doing that. Also, another thing to notice is what you're doing with your feet. So there's two ideals in Qi Gong that sometimes might contradict, especially in a month like November in the Northern Hemisphere. So one ideal is to have warm feet. So there's that. And then another ideal is to have bare feet. So what's going to be the happy medium for you? For me, I'm wearing socks. So that allows me to still feel some connection with the floor, but not feel icy and uncomfortable in my toes. So you find what works for you. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, I always love starting with just focusing a little bit on the standing posture because it is the most important posture in Qigong. So I notice most people are indoors today, which is great because when you're indoors, there's walls. So if you can, find a piece of wall to stand in front of and feel what it's like to have the whole length of your spine flush against the wall. So my teachers in Qigong who have done very well for themselves in the world of Qigong and Tai Chi, they say there's two elements to making a really strong Qigong practice. One is having this straight spine. And just really feel into that, what your muscles and bones have to do in order for the spine to be really straight. Okay, and then as you press off of the wall and lift your body off of the wall, can you maintain that degree of straightness? Are your muscles and bones still supporting you? And then lean against the wall again and see how you did. If your muscles and bones are still in that place. So I will say that it does take quite a bit of core strength to maintain this degree of straightness in the spine. And in Qigong, the advice is to never strain yourself. So if you are feeling some strain in your core, just back off just enough so that your body still feels strong, but there's no strain. So as straight as it can be, but also without strain. So if you have a straight spine or as straight as can be without strain, then you're halfway to being a strong Qigong practitioner. The other half is to just have a calm mind. So we've already been practicing a little bit today. Maybe you're already there. Maybe you're in progress. Maybe you're just a little calmer now than it was yesterday or before we started practice. Calm mind, straight spine. There you are. You're a strong Qigong practitioner. Just going to highlight a few other things about the standing posture, which is the most important posture of Qigong. Make sure to have a soft bend in your knees and a connection to the floor that is both physical. So, your weight is distributed evenly between the feet. And it's also mental, something that's not strictly physical. Some connection to the earth beneath the foundation of your house. This planet Earth that we are all standing on right now, except for any devas who may be watching. Then extending the crown of the head toward the heavens, toward the skies. And here we are in standing posture. First movement of today starts with the hands in front of the chest. Then they just spread apart, one palm towards the heavens, one palm towards the earth. They come together again. Breathe in, they press apart. Breathe out, they come together. Breathe in, they connect heaven and earth. Breathe out, relax, contract. Go at your own pace. The pace of your breath. Maybe the pace that your body wants to move at, not your mind. This is said to be a good posture to do right after eating because it straightens the internal organs and especially the intestines. A couple more on each side. Finding something to enjoy in the last few rounds of this movement. Whenever you're ready, meeting back in standing posture. And we'll do some knocking on the door of life. So for this one, the movement is initiated from the pelvis, always from here in Qi Gong, all right? So the pelvis rotates from side to side, upper body follows, very relaxed. And then the waist also joins in the fun, also starts twisting. And the shoulders, the eye gaze twisting from side to side. Then just bringing a little bit of intention to the hand that is contacting the back of the body so that it makes contact right in the center. This is called the door of life, which is really great for releasing energy. Now bringing some intention to the hand that is contacting the front of the body. So it comes and contacts right below the collarbone. There should be a little pocket that feels really good, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting, especially if you sit a lot at a desk during the week. These are lung points that are great for stimulating immunity. And then whatever hand is contacting the front of your body, just bringing it into a slight cup, and then it should touch both in front and behind your shoulder. These are some great points for clearing the mind, clearing away mental fog, making decisions easier. And then back to that lung point right below the collarbone. Back to the belly. Slowing it down. For a few rounds, making no contact at all with the body, just swinging the arms. Maybe finding some enjoyment in feeling that air between your fingers. And coming to standing posture, hands at your belly. Maybe noticing some qi starting to flow throughout the limbs, some tingling, some warmth. This next movement will be really great for the post-lunch slump that often hits people. Really great for releasing energy from a certain part of the body. And in the times when my mind is the most quiet and most aware of the qi, this movement can easily replace a cup of coffee. So bringing your feet a little closer together, still apart, but maybe the outsides of the legs are flush with the armpits, parallel lines. Again, we're not perfectionists here, so close enough is close enough. And then with this movement, it's really important to go as far as feels good for your body and not farther. So we start here, just raising the arms a little bit, and like a marionette with its strings suddenly cut, just let the arms go loose. Maybe it feels good to breathe in as the arms come up and breathe out when the strings are cut. If you like this, stay here. If you want more, then raise the arms a little higher, maybe to shoulder height. And all of a sudden the strings get cut. There's a lot of tension for a lot of people over here in the legs, so this just helps release all that energy. If you like this, stay here. If you want more, come with me on this adventure. One or two more at your own pace. And meeting back in standing posture. Maybe you feel a difference in your energy. Maybe you don't. Anything is perfectly fine. Go into a movement that dispels a lot of tension from the shoulders. So especially if you've been meditating all day, this might feel really good. So just starting with that slight cup in your hand, we're just gonna do a little bit of stimulation around the shoulder, upper back, maybe a little bit on the neck, wherever feels good. Maybe you rotate that static arm a little bit and see how that interacts with your muscles. Now going into some self-massage in that upper back, shoulder, neck. And bringing that self-massage to the shoulder head. If you feel any point that feels especially good, then please linger there and let it feel good. To the upper arm. Down to the forearm. Wrist. A little bit of love on the hands. Now we're gonna basically squeeze our arm like a bag of nut milk from a cheesecloth. So just really imagining like you're squeezing out anything that doesn't feel good, like anything that isn't good. All the way from the shoulder down past the fingertips. Then going not from the upper back, but from the arm. And a little bit of a flicking motion at the end to get rid of any stagnant chi. Make way for the bright, happy chi. And then from the elbow, then from the wrist, and then we're going to do this all again on the other side. So a little bit of stimulation. And whenever you're ready, going into that massage motion from the upper back all the way down to the wrist, lingering anywhere that feels good. Whenever you're ready, going into that nut milk squeezing portion of this movement, clearing away any stagnant chi. Checking in, how's your standing posture? And a few more breaths here, a couple more breaths. Making sure also to show some love to your hands, the fleshy pad at the base of your thumb. A little squeeze on each finger, maybe. Meeting in standing posture when you're ready. This next movement is called the rooster spreading its feathers, I believe. So let's spread those feathers, reaching down and out, kind of at a diagonal. You should feel a nice stretch down the insides of your arms. And then rolling the head to one side, maybe you feel a really nice stretch in your shoulder, neck area. Rolling that head toward the front of the body. And then the back. If you feel anywhere that feels really good, please pause there. Maybe some tiny circles there, the size of a dime in one direction. And whenever you feel ready, switching into the other direction. And on your next out breath, rolling that chin down to the chest. And then on your next in breath, your head to the other side. Feeling that same stretch on your other shoulder. Finding the spots that feel the sweetest for you. Couple more breaths here, really enjoying the inhale and exhale. And slowly coming back to standing posture. My body feels like shaking, so let's shake. This is the 8-point bounce, so bouncing the wrists, bouncing the elbows, bouncing the knees, bouncing that pelvis, and also letting go of the ego, bouncing the head. If you feel comfortable with your balance, then I invite you to close your eyes, only if you feel comfortable. And usually in Qigong, we breathe in and out from the nose, but if you can do so without disturbing your neighbors, then maybe try breathing out throatily from the mouth. Slowing it down, slowing it down. There's another version of this movement that I would love to share. Coming to your tiptoes, as if you are more active in daily life and very comfortable with balance, then you can come as high as you want. If you are not so active, not as comfortable with your balance, then maybe just a hair's width off the floor. Okay, so as you are comfortable. Coming to your toes, bounce 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then as you hit the floor, your whole body goes a little bit relaxed, a little bit even limp. Maybe you hit the floor with a nice thump. You can try it again to your comfort level. Onto your toes, bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and thumb. And one more time at your own pace. It's like when you straighten a stack of papers on a desk. Tuk, 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 tuk. It's like that. All right, next movement. I don't remember the name for this, but you start with your hands straight up. They meet, the fingers knit together. They come down and just melt down the whole back line of the body. And when they come to the neck, the fingers part, still melting down, all the way down the rear end, the backs of the legs. Fingertips meet the heels and trace the outside of the feet all the way to the big toe. And then the spine, my earbud just dropped. Then the upper body spine comes up straight. So this does require some core strength. Again, the fingers meet, melt down the head, melt down where the kidneys are in the back, the rear end. Finding a nice stretch in the legs as you go down. Finding some appreciation for the feet for carrying us around life. And then straight as a board, the upper body comes up in one piece. Let's do this a few times without me talking. Really just sinking into the body. Two or three more times at your own pace. Really finding some gratitude for these bodies that allow us to practice in this human life. And when you're ready, coming back to a standing posture. Let's do a Qi massage. So starting with your hands in rooster beaks, just really stimulating that point at the center of your chest. It's really great for anti-anxiety. And then going into loose fists, broadening that area and stimulating all around your chest. And then going into flat palms now, going down the inside of one arm and then up the outside, which follows the flow of the meridians from the yin meridians up the yang meridians. And then going across to the other arm. They were also going to stimulate just with really loose fingertips, stimulating the face, the jaw, chin, that space on your upper lip right below the nose and the sides of the nose. Cheekbones, tops, sides, bottom of the cheekbones. Temples, all along the brow, forehead, all around the ears. Don't forget the base of the skull. And up around sides of the skull. And then right at the crown of the head. It's said that this is where all the meridians meet. I'm not a Chinese medicine doctor, I'm not sure, I don't know, but this is what I'm told. So by stimulating this one point at the crown of the head, the very tippy top, we're stimulating the entire body. All right, now let's go to the lower body. So again, with these flat palms, going down the outside and up the inside, pulling a few rounds at your own pace. Then again, with loose fists, going in a circle around your belly. So making sure to go down your left side, like going down your left side and up your right side. So this goes with the cycle of digestion. And those circles just get a tiny bit smaller with every round. The center should be just an inch or two right below your belly button. Closing in on that belly button now. And spending a few breaths just on that point itself, right below the belly button. This is stimulating the dantian, where people store their energy as they go about their day and about their lives. Slowing it down. Just holding your hands there at the soft of your belly. If your eyes, with your eyes closed, if you like. Next movement looks very simple. Imagine you're holding a tray above your head, right above your head. And then just press that tray upward a little bit, just 1 or 2 inches. Pressing up and exhaling at the same time. Inhaling as that tray comes back down. And what I really love about this movement is the encouragement here is not to press with your muscles, like not with your bicep, not with the muscles in your arms, but to imagine the movement originating in your pelvis, in that energy reserve that we were just stimulating. That energy comes up the spine, up the back, and it's that energy that is pressing that tray away, not the muscles. It's the breath energy, not the mind. If there are any muscles being tapped in for support, let it be the back, the core. Doing without doing. Couple more rounds. And slowly coming back to standing posture. Next movement is a classic. One of the ones that some Qigong masters say, if you only know one movement, this movement can encompass all the benefits of Qigong. There's a couple movements like that. This is one of them. All right, so you can widen the stance a little bit. The more wide your stance is, the more active it is, and the more warming it will be. So if you feel like getting your heart rate up, you can go all the way here. I don't feel like it. You can if you want, but right now, body's telling me this feels good. So what does your body tell you right now? Knees soften, just making sure they do not extend past your toes when you look down, and that's to protect your knees. Start with your hands in embracing the tree, and then one hand drops, and you shift your weight towards that high hand. When you've shifted your weight over as much as you can, then turn toward that side of the higher hand. When you turn as far as you can switch your hands. So with the one that was high is now low, the one that is low is now high. And shift your weight toward the side with the higher hand. When you've shifted as far as you can, twist from the waist. When you've twisted as far as you can, change your hands, so on and so forth. Like you're playing with a cloud. You can, if you like, you can just breathe naturally here. There's no prescribed breathing pattern. If you like, you could also breathe in one way and breathe out the other. couple things to note here. If it feels good, that's the most important thing that matters, is that it's helping to calm without hurting your body. So making sure your knees never extend past your toes. If you want bonus points, then try to make sure that your head stays at the same level as you shift from side to side. If you want more bonus points, make sure that your pelvis is tucked even as you shift your weight from side to side. I want to try something fun here. For the next few rounds, really go at this movement with 100% resolve. That feeling of, I want to do something, I want to accomplish something, resolve. And if it helps you to really tune into that energy, you can close your eyes. And then for the next few breaths, tune into the energy of ease. Let it be 100% effortless. And if you think you're at 100% now, 100% effortlessness and ease, can you be even more at ease? And then for the next few breaths, tune into the energy of easeful resolve, whatever that means for you. Last few breaths here in this energy of easeful resolve. And when you are ready, in the next couple breaths, closing that movement back to a standing posture. Let's do a movement called centering, starting to close our practice now. Hands can cup right in front of the dantian. And then whichever hand is lower, can just bring it, sweep it out to the side, all the way to the midline, and then straight down the front. And then the other hand goes. Breathing out as the hand sweeps down. Breathing in as it sweeps to the side. Maybe you can even feel that energy settling and centering in the body as your hand comes down. Couple more on each side. We'll pull down the heavens a few times. I like this one in the slightly wider stance. It's up to you. Breathing in, hands both come out to the sides. And it's like you're collecting that good energy and just shining it onto yourself. Breathing in, gathering. Breathing out, just steeping in it. Couple more times. The last movement for today is swaying like a bamboo, I believe it's called. Feet come together. There's a clump of dog hair on my socks right now. Got it. And if you are comfortable with your balance, you can close your eyes all the way. If you're not a super 100 confident with your balance, then you can keep your eyes open or just fuzzy gaze. It's totally up to you. And then just letting that body relax, trusting the strength of your feet, your ankles to hold you upright. Maybe that body sways a little bit from side to side, front and back. Recalibrating after all that good energy work that we just did. There's a particular sweetness to a sitting meditation directly after a Qi Gong practice. So after we do close this with a bow, we will have time to sit a little bit. Couple last breaths here in this posture. And then letting the gaze open and focus again. Feet can come to a natural standing position. And in Qi Gong, we bow with one open fist, one loose fist, one palm. They meet. We acknowledge all the teachers who come before us in this practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. And let's take a quick potty break and meet you on the cushion. Coming back to the room. Wonder if anybody else also felt a difference in meditating after Qigong practice. And did you want to say something?
Yes, I felt different because I didn't fall asleep, so that was really good.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's nap time.
Thank you for letting me know that. All right. I guess now is the part where I talk. And I do want to try something new today because I've spoken with the KBB community a few times, and it's my personality. It's like out of all the Brahma Viharas, mudita is the one that rushes forward first and elbows all the other ones out of the way. And I especially feel that selfless joy, divine joy, when I'm here practicing in community, it is one of my favorite things. And to see people with such dedicated and sincere and deep practice just makes me so happy. So usually I speak with this fire hose of joy coming through me to all of you. And there are definitely benefits to this. I think joy is very fun. And the drawback is that it really disrupts my nervous system. So I cannot sleep the day before, I cannot sleep the day after, and it takes me a long time to recover. So, why am I telling you this? One, if you're wondering why my eyes are closed, because I'm trying to take joy, have a backseat, equanimity, come forward. I want to let you know what's going on. And two, if my eyes are closed and I lose internet connection, the only way I will know is if the ayahs call me. I have a special setting on my phones where only the ayahs can reach me. And three, I think one of my favorite antidotes for perfectionism, which is what we're talking about today, I'll be sharing a few of my favorite antidotes. One of my favorite antidotes is to just be so embracing of the fact that we are all works in progress. And I'm trying something new here. I don't know how it's going to go. And I'm just so happy you all are on board trying this new thing with me. But every single person, every sentient being, from hell beings to devas and everyone in between, we are all works in progress. Even for people who have perfected the path, all right, also they are works in progress. So some favorite examples. One is from Stillness Flowing when Ajahn Chah came to teach in America, and he was like, oh my gosh, people here are really different. The conditioning here is in some ways the complete opposite of in Thailand, where they're known as the land of smiles. America is not known as the land of smiles. And he really had to change his teaching style when he took the Dhamma seat in America. And all of a sudden he was apologizing at the end of his Dhamma talk. Sorry if I hurt anybody, sorry if this didn't sit right with you. And even in the writing of Stillness Flowing, it's noted how this was unthinkable in Thailand. So Ajahn Chah, as the world changes around him, as he enters new parts of the world, as he changed himself, like everybody's just a work in progress. I also love, based on the glowing recommendations of a couple community members last time, to read the biography of Ajahn Mun. I started reading that also. And something I'm enjoying so much is when Ajahn Mahabua, in the writing of this book, And also, by the way, Ajahn Mahabua, I'm sure everybody knows, but I know other people watch the YouTube later. Renowned arahant, widely recognized as an arahant. So in the writing of the biography, I so enjoy when Ajahn Mahabua writes, you know what, I did my best. I know this isn't perfect. I know some people aren't going to agree. I apologize. And I think my favorite instance of this was he was describing some trait that Ajahn Mun would praise in practitioners. And he said, you know what, I'm not perfect at this. A lot of people struggle with this. So let's just move on. And I love that so much. You know, even someone who is so far along the path can just openly note in writing in a book that he knew that many, many people would read. I'm not that great at this. I'm not perfect. So let's just acknowledge that and move on. I love that. And we can also practice that. I think if we are openly flawed and just open about the ways that we are growing, because for us, until parinibbana, we will always be changing and growing. If we can be open about that, then we don't have to worry about anyone seeing through to the fact that we're not perfect. I think there was also a phase in my practice when I was really just looking around me at all the people who were trying so hard to be perfect and just quietly to myself chuckling about it. In my career, I've like taken a lot of zigzags in my career, in my professional life. So I've rubbed elbows with a lot of people who look perfect from the outside. You know, a lot of, I cringe to say this, but like famous celebrities, people who have teams of people who are paid to make them look perfect on the covers of magazines and on red carpets. I have rubbed elbows with them. They struggle with anxiety too, like very noticeably. And in reading the memoirs of famous celebrities who are very wealthy, very high reputations for whatever their field, you know, they talk about how hard it is, the anxieties, the yoke of perfectionism, the yoke of success, the yoke of highly achieving, and the sacrifices that it takes, the harms that they have to inflict on the people closest to them, the people they love the most, in order to maintain that facade of perfect. Well, it's the same with CEOs, executives, people who are known as the top of their field in advertising, in education. I've seen what they're like. I've seen what they're like when they're not on. You know, I think that's also another really important reason to go and visit arahants in person, because they can look pretty darn perfect when they're on, when they're sitting in the Dhamma seat and they have the microphone and they're saying all these really profound things. But they're not always on. They're not always Longpor Ganha. So one example of this is one day when Longpor Ganha sent us all on this like 4-mile hike through the dense forest where there are wild bulls and wild dogs and elephants. And I guess we were not as active and fit as he thought we were. So we were probably taking a lot longer than he thought that we would. And I remember as we were straggling back into the monastery, I saw him standing outside of his car and he was kind of watching, looking at us coming in, and he looked distinctly worried. And I don't know if he was because I wasn't reading his mind, but he looked really worried about us, as if maybe there were some thoughts of, should I have done that? Is everyone going to be safe? Did I make a mistake? And again, I don't know, but that's what it really looked like to me in that time. That's what it looked like on his face. That's what it felt like. It's like, I think it's really easy to look at a lot of people that we admire and to think that they're a shiny new car, you know, without a single blemish, without a single fault. But really, every single human being, I would even say every sentient being for the devas out there, we're more like the inside of a lava lamp, that gooey and that messy and that organic and in that constant state of flow and falling apart. So maybe instead of how can I be the most awakened or how can I be the most best at dancing or acting or winning money for my business, like fill in the blank, how can I be the most that? I think another way of deepening my practice was how can I be the most humble? It's really fun for me to frame it in that way because the most humble person is no person at all, is no self. And that was a really fun way for me to orient myself toward, I think, what Nibbana really is. I remember when I first started hearing about Buddhist practice, my sister was teaching me about the fact that there are arahants. And I said, oh my gosh, what do you think it's like to be an arahant? And she said, oh, I don't know. I think you see a lot of weird colors and you can read people's minds and you're perfect. And I don't think that's what it is, actually. I think in a certain way, arahants are really special because maybe there's not that many of them. I think there's more than we think, right? Because as I've read, a lot of times people cross that finish line and they actually retreat from the public and do not wish to be known and enjoy the bliss of anonymity. But still, very few in number. So in one way, they're special, but in another way, they have only gotten to that point because they know there's nothing special about them at all. And the visual that really helped me was that in a certain way, an arahant would just be like a dirty old shoelace, like that unspecial and that mundane, that common, that easy to just let go and discard, that uneager to be perfect and that uneager to prove something or win approval. And I really like that working with that idea, the visual of the inside of a lava lamp, because all human beings, all sentient beings are inherently messy to some degree. Maybe very messy, maybe just a little messy, but the mess is there and it's inherent. So, of course, in any relationship, it would also be inherently messy and mistakes are inevitable. Harm is inevitable. Even the arahants, I think when I went to Thailand, it was such an intensely amazing and good experience. And it shifted my life so deeply and quickly that, of course, I was also in some ways harmed by it. And the easiest example for me to reach for and give here is when Lomper Gunha called me overweight in front of like the entire weekend crowd, like maybe 100 people at least. And I hope this is obvious, but there's nothing wrong with being overweight. There's nothing wrong with being any size. The reason why it really harmed me was because it immediately brought me back to my childhood when I was being bullied by a bunch of little girls for being chubby. And that really hurt. Even as much as I tried to not be hurt in that moment, I was really harmed by it. And that's just the easiest example to give. But, Ajahn Suchart was doing a Q&A one time, and somebody asked him, when I chant in the community, I find that I often cry. Why do I cry in that situation? And I've warned the group before that Ajahn Suchart can be a little spicy. So in his slightly spicy way, he was like, it's because you lost mindfulness. Something like that. And I felt immediately ashamed and embarrassed because I cry so much. I cry so often. I cried multiple times at Wat Saptawi when we were chanting. I'm just like so inspired by it. And there's so much joy that arises in me. And when I heard what Ajahn Suchart said, like for for a while, I was like, oh my gosh, am I a horrible practitioner who just has no mindfulness? But I decided that I would investigate for myself to see if that was true. And because I cry so often, I did not have to wait very long to test this out for myself. And, the next time that I was talking with Kyle and great loving kindness arose, I could feel the tears starting to rise in me, and I was watching it so closely, as if I was pulling up a chair to a freshly painted wall and just watching it dry, like so closely, watching it rise little by little. And I still cried. Like, even with that close mindfulness, I still cried in the face of great compassion. When I see people forgiving each other, I cry. It's so moving and inspiring to me. When I just last night, I had a friend host me for dinner, and like the degree of generosity that she showed us moved me to the point of tears. Okay, like all these times, I'm mindful of it. I tested it like at least 10 times, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I think what Ajahn Suchart said was true for him, but not true for me. And when I cry, it can also be from just gladness, and that's something I really like about myself, actually, and something that I am not ashamed of. Crying can be so useful, actually. Yeah, anyway, so all these people who have walked the path to its finish, have crossed the finish line of Nibbana, like they also make mistakes. And in their effort to do great good for many people, they also sometimes do commit harm. And there's just nothing we can do about that. Like, harm is inevitable. Let's try not to do it, but it's going to happen. And in fact, I would say that the strength of my relationships comes not from things going well all the time, but it is really can be measured by how well we repair the relationship when there is harm. And that's why I feel like my relationship with Kyle is so strong, is because not because they make me laugh so much, which is true, with their funny jokes, and not because they are so kind, which is true. Their kindness moves me constantly, but I think it really comes from whenever there is a rupture, we both want to repair it so much and really want to hear each other out and forgive each other, learn from it, and move on and know that we're stronger because of it. And I would say the same is true for all of my close relationships, with my best friend from high school and with the Ayas. I would say these friendships are really strong because when we have accidentally stubbed each other's toes in our friendship, we talk about it and really show that respect, like show that our respect is there for each other and our desire to grow together and grow individually and grow through that conflict. I think that's what makes friendship strong. And on the subject of crying, I also wanted to bring in something that was so incredibly helpful for letting go of perfectionism, impatience, etc. I actually heard Ajahn Sumedho talking about how he used this also, or how he practiced this. I think, I don't remember exactly when, but he said like at one of his first extended retreats, he was in seclusion, not talking to anybody, just meditating all day. It was like very early on in his life. Um, and when I say very early on, I mean like in his 30s, right? He's 91 now. But he said that for the first few days, it was just so blissful and contented. And then after the first few days, he felt all this rage coming up, all this rage that he never got to feel when he was a child and when he was growing up, because he wasn't really allowed to feel it. If I remember correctly, that's how the story goes. And all he could do was just feel the feeling. And as he felt those feelings, they passed out of his system. And after a while, he didn't feel so yoked to that rage anymore. And I felt this lightning clap of recognition when he was talking about that, because there was also a phase in my practice where a lot of painful memories were coming up from my childhood, where out of their good intention to teach me to be high achieving, which, as we've said earlier this morning, like there's a lot of benefit from that, you know, like I recently got like 3 promotions 1 year, and I had to tell my manager, like, don't promote me ever again. I never want another promotion. No more. And it's because I have a lot of ability to achieve and capacity to achieve. So there is upside to the way that I was raised. However, there were also drawbacks because the heart can never rest when it's trying to be perfect. So anyway, I was working with a somatic experiencing therapist, and this modality is something that a lot of meditation teachers are trained in, but it's basically just drawing up, and I'm sure I'm going to explain it incorrectly, but this is at least my experience of it. It's like drawing up these memories where in the moment in my childhood, I had so much sorrow in the way that I was treated, but I wasn't allowed to cry because if I cried, then things got worse in my household in the way that I was treated, and I would be treated even more harshly. So I had to just numb myself. But then as an adult in somatic experiencing sessions, I would draw up that memory and just allow myself to weep the tears that I never got to weep when I was a child. It was a lot of tears, like mountains of soggy Kleenex on my desk. Okay. And after these sessions, I would feel really physically fatigued, but in my mind, I always felt so much lighter and so much freer. And as I went through these sessions, and it didn't take many sessions, at least for me, in working with those memories, but I did not feel as tied to my perfectionism and to my impatience and in the ways that my caregivers pushed me to achieve and pushed me to achieve quickly. And I happened to do it with a somatic experiencing therapist, but I don't think, if someone is very well practiced, has a deep practice already, if you have a deep meditation practice, I'm not sure one is completely 100% necessary. Maybe it will be safer to have one with you. Maybe you don't need one. I don't know. You figure it out. Ajo Sumedo did not have one with him when he was in his meditation retreat. But just all the physical trauma that I wasn't allowed to release in real time when I was a young child would just bring up those memories and let out that pain as an adult. And even if it was decades later, I think it was still extremely effective. So for anyone who is perhaps struggling with perfectionism, impatience, judgment, any of these things that were a product of early childhood trauma, maybe this is something to try if you like. Ajahn Sumedho says, just feel your feelings sometimes. And it's so funny because this is something that a lot of people say now. It's like all over social media, but it's really not just an Instagram cliche. I think in one way of looking at arahantship, it's like maybe they're just so unafraid of their feelings. Anything that comes up just passes frictionlessly through their system. So any feeling that has not yet been felt from early childhood, from yesterday, from a minute ago, like any feeling that has yet to be felt, that can be felt anytime that it feels safe. And then letting it pass frictionlessly out of our system, more and more frictionlessly. One thing I did want to say about doing this deep work is I do think it takes a lot of energy. And because it takes so much energy, it does take a lot of time. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when I was doing that somatic experiencing work, I didn't have much happening at work. Work was very easy for me at the time. It involved lots of hours sitting in the meditation room at the back of the office. So I also don't think it was a coincidence that one of the deepest phases of my practice occurred like immediately after summer break started, when Kyle and I were both classroom teachers, and we just had really nothing to do for 2.5 months for summer vacation, but go through some really deep, dark stuff from our past and let go of it. So I would say, based on what I've observed with how much time and energy it takes to let go of that really deep, dark gunk. So one thing I've started to do with Kyle is whenever we make plans and structure our life, we always start from how much energy we have. So like baseline, we need a certain amount of time and energy just to be able to be mentally well, which is, I think, another way of saying just to be able to prioritize our practice. So once we have that baseline, then we add on top of that. And of course, we add the necessities like work, taking care of ourselves, getting food, cooking food, and then we add leisure on top of that. That has worked really well for me in prioritizing my practice and in getting to a place where I feel really confident about my practice. So I wanted to talk about something that was brought up last time during the discussion, I think. My gosh, someone's like, the landscaper is here whacking the side of my house. Okay. Okay, can ignore that. But someone was saying, like, in practice, it's like everything matters and nothing matters. And I want to explore that and go into that a little bit because, of course, on one hand, everything matters, right? We are all the owners of our karma, and in any moment, we can be generating like happy karma, not so happy karma, transcendent karma, and all of that paves the path of the rest of our practice until parinibbana. So on one hand, everything matters. And I think also I would venture to say that we all have the experience of like a stray comment, a stray compliment can really brighten our day, or a thoughtless comment can really dampen our day. So on one hand, everything matters. And in the practice with letting go of perfectionism, something that has really helped is realizing how much nothing matters. So it's not just that everything is anicca and anatta, but I think if we really want to understand anicca, then I think it's really important to understand infinity also. So to understand impermanence, understand what is eternal and what does that really mean. So if we click back and click up so far back and so far up that there becomes no such thing as back and up, if we click into infinity view, then like truly nothing matters. Like no one's awakening matters. It doesn't matter if we awaken now or in 1,000 lifetimes, because we're gonna get there at some point. And in infinity view, nothing, like truly nothing matters. Okay, even the Buddha in infinity view, even the Buddha doesn't matter, because the historical Siddhartha Gautama Buddha is just one Buddha in an infinite line of Buddhas. There is always going to be a Buddha. It's just a long, long time passes between the Buddhas. So that is how much nothing matters, like truly nothing. This whole planet, nothing on it matters, because eventually it's going to collide into the sun, and there's just going to be another planet somewhere with other life beings, other life forms. Okay, it's to that extent that nothing matters. And I think it's important or it's rich practice, I think, to see with one eye on both truth at once. So one eye sees everything matters, the other eye sees that nothing matters, like truly, absolutely nothing matters. And I think when I can see both truths at once, then perfectionism easily falls away, because not only is there no point to be perfect or to reach for perfection, but also there is nothing to be perfected. But I think it's important to see with one eye on both truths, because if we only see from infinity view all the time, that's not helpful for practice, right? Because then why would I care about anything? That's just nihilism and apathy, and it's just not going to help anyone progress down the path. And if I only see with the view that everything matters, then it's just clinging. So it's, for me, when I see with one eye on both truths, that's when the practice is the most rich, the most juicy, and the most efficient also. I also want to talk about how everything has a benefit and a drawback, right? Like when I do well at work, there are obvious benefits. Like I get recognized, that's one benefit. Also, like if I propose a solution and it's greenlit, then maybe the solution makes work a lot easier for a lot of people. So that's an obvious benefit. If I don't do well, there are also a lot of benefits. Then people don't ask me to work as much, you know. There are so many times when I ask my manager, like, should I ask person A or person B? And she'll say, you know, person A is smart in many ways, but not in this way. So you should ask person B for this. So I'm going to go bug person B for the task. They're going to have to do more things. So there are definitely drawbacks to not doing so well. And including the drawback of like, if nobody asks me for anything, then I get to just sit in a chair and meditate. So that's also an obvious benefit. And even in something that I care about so much, like sharing Dhamma and practicing in communities, like one of the greatest joys in my life. If a lot of people like what I have to say, then there's an obvious benefit there that we all get to practice together and it's so much fun. And if only a few people like what I have to say, then to me, there's also an obvious benefit there that there will be a smaller and more intimate group that comes to my offerings. And when there's a smaller and more intimate group, the sharing and the discussion tends to be a little more vulnerable and a little more intimate. And that is a very clear benefit to me. And also, if nobody likes what I have to say, you know, if people decide to form a picket line outside of KBB and say, no more grace, no more grace, there would also be a benefit in the fact that then I would have the bliss of anonymity, you know, the bliss of not being known, the bliss of sitting in my chair and meditating all by myself. And to me, knowing that there is always a benefit to not doing so great also helps me let go of perfectionism so much. There's actually like, I know for a fact there's someone like spreading lies about me on the internet right now, like not someone from a Dhamma community, someone from work life. And there's even benefit there too, you know, the ways that I've seen people stand up for me and just so obviously not believe it has been so sweet. There's benefit in everything. I do have to say though, for that last scenario, that I do think because in the way I interacted with this person, that I, even though that my actions were misinterpreted by him, I am so confident in my intentions always being pure when I was interacting with him, and my sila being very strong when I interacted with him. And that is why I am just free of anxiety when I hear about him spreading lies about me on the internet. And because I know that with everybody else in the company, that I do have a reputation for have strong, very, very strong sila, for having good intentions. I feel confident that no one will believe him. So sila can also free us from anxiety. I think something I'm pointing at here is like the diligence and the resolve and the practice is so personal. Like only I will ever really know if my intention was pure or not, and if my sila is pure or not. But perfectionism is all about the external results and external rewards. And I think the more confidence I developed in the internal, then the concern for the external just naturally falls away. Okay, a couple more things I want to talk about. In Wat Sattvi, something that happened was, Lung Gangha called me chubby in front of everyone, but he also praised me in front of everyone. And when it happened, I was so overcome with emotion, and my chest literally hurt when that happened because I felt like something so powerful was opening in my heart. And I think it has a lot to do with the way that I was conditioned from early childhood. Like if I ever said anything positive about myself, I was knocked down swiftly from that high esteem of myself, and really taught that one should never say anything positive about themselves. My primary giver said, like, if you are smart, you'll never say that you're smart, for example. And for like almost a full year after that happened with Longpo Gangha, like it was like the forefront of my practice to just correct that early conditioning and to notice the ways that I was doing a really good job in life and in practice. And that was my way of like adding positivity where there was a dearth before, but also my way of just seeing things clearly, because I was doing a really good job in life and I was doing a really good job in practice. So I also really encourage everyone here, like, I don't say this because I think meditating automatically makes anyone more special. Okay. I'm saying that I think there's a lot of goodness in each person here because in the way that the IS lead this community, there's such a strong emphasis on sila and in meditating. And for anyone to return again and again to this community would indicate also a strong emphasis in you, in sila, a strong uh, interest in meditation. And because of that, I would say that anyone who is a regular member here is also very, very good. And I don't know if you also had the conditioning similar to I had when I was a kid, but can you also recognize your own goodness? It was a while after coming back from pilgrimage when I remember when that happened, I was like 99% of me was like, oh my gosh, I feel really great about what Lumpur had just said to me. But 1% was like, why did I not have the courage to say that about myself? Like, why did it take this monk who lived on the other side of the planet for me to believe that I'm good? Like, why did I never believe Kyle when they said it, or like my students when I was a classroom teacher, when they would tell me all the time how much they appreciated me? Like, why did I never believe them? Why did it take Longpa Gun, who lived in the forest of Thailand, for me to believe that I'm good? So I thought, you know what? Maybe one day I'll have the chance to just validate myself. And about a year and a half ish after coming back from Thailand, like I just made a huge breakthrough in practice. And at the time, I was taking a break from KBV, really looking for some answers that I just needed to go elsewhere to find. And I remember, like, where is there a teacher? I crave so much for someone to come and tell me that I'm good. And then I realized, like, when I was sitting with that craving, I was like, oh, now is the time. Now is the time that I was wishing for when Longpo Gunha said that about me. Like, now is the time for me to have the courage and validate myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I really have the balls to validate myself? Okay, do I really have the courage to validate myself in this way? Okay, but if I really see the situation clearly, am I going to validate myself in this way? And the answer was yes. And I think that was massive in helping me let go of external results and perfectionism, because perfectionism is about getting the okay from other people, at least in the way that I experienced it. But when I had the courage to validate myself in that moment, a lot of that external noise just quieted. And that brings me to, I think, the last point that I want to make, before I open my eyes. And it's funny, there's like moments when I'm talking that like joy, I feel like is kind of pushing equanimity out of the way. And I have to be like, okay, no, you can come out to play later. But this next part is going to be hard for me to talk about without joy taking the forefront, but I'm going to take a stab at it. I think the last part I want to talk about is fun, like practicing because it's so much fun. And it's funny because as I'm about a quarter of the way through the biography of Ajahn Mun, but so far I'm not seeing a lot of fun. I see a lot of like resolve, dedication, and I think part of that has to do with maybe a very different conditioning of the people in Thailand. It's known as the land of smiles. It's known for a very laid back culture. So I imagine if the middle way involves a sense of easeful resolve, then maybe the people there are born with a lot of ease in general, if I'm going to make sweeping generalizations. Maybe they're born with a lot of ease, and as people awaken, they have to develop a lot of resolve. Okay, my joy is like rising again. I have to. Versus on the other side, in America, I think there's a lot of conditioning for resolve, very strong resolve. So maybe as we practice, we need to develop our sense of ease. And I want to name fun because to me, that has been such a driver and inspiration in my practice. It can be so much fun that, and as I say fun, it's also like, to me, another way of saying easeful resolve, like really playing with my practice to the point that like even as I was doing somatic experiencing therapy, for example, and as I was crying, it doesn't look very fun on the outside, but there's this little nugget in the back of my brain that's like, this is really fun, like letting go of old pain, old stagnant BS that I don't need in my life anymore, don't want in my life anymore. This is fun. Like how light and free that I feel when this is done, like that's really fun to notice that difference. So many other things about practice are so fun, like developing the equanimity so that I can be in a department meeting at work and someone drops very bad news. Everybody else is stressed, but I'm fine. That's very fun to notice. But even more so was when we all went back to our offices and my colleagues followed me like little ducklings and they asked me, how did you do that? Okay, that was very fun. Suddenly noticing that I can just sit alone in a chair in my room and not need anything to be happy is so much fun. And just watching the progress that happens as we keep practicing the Four Noble Truths, as those Four Noble Truths get more and more fluent, that's so much fun. Developing a relationship with the devas, so much fun. And on and on and on, like really deep meditation to the point where it's not just that there are no thoughts anymore in the mind, but that the mind itself is obliterated. So much fun. So much fun. Okay. All of it is so much fun. All right. I think that's all I have for now. And I'm gonna open my eyes now. I would love to hear if anybody has anything to say, any responses to what I just shared. Questions can be directed to me or to the ayahs. And also, what I've noticed is I really love hearing people just sharing about how their own practice is going and any breakthroughs that they've had since the last time we met, or just any time in life, really. I also really enjoy hearing about that.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for your talk. It's lovely, really.
Sweet. Yeah. Anybody have anything they want to share? Questions, comments, complaints? You go for it. Because it was also a lot to take in, probably some wonderful things to reflect on.
You don't have to wait to be called on if you don't want to, but Steve.
Yeah, I just wanted to appreciate the sheer joy in the presentation. Yeah, you didn't really have to say that you're a mudita person.
Well, the joy only appears because of the sincere practice of this community and the goodness of this community. So really, you're thinking yourself.
Yeah, come here, Elizabeth. Yeah, come up here.
Hi, Grace. I hesitate only because it's not formed in my mind. But this sense of, I call it one foot in each world. Nothing, you say nothing matters and everything matters. To me, it's one foot in each world. It's meaning that there's the mundane, everyday world. No, let me see if I can say. I have one of my goals is to do everything as well as I can. I mean, let's forget perfect, that's, nuts, but to do it as well as I can, because that to me is almost like a part of sila. It's just doing your best. I mean, that's what makes sense to me. So that's the mundane world, all the tasks and chores. And then the bigger picture world, for me, it's about, right now, it's about death and dying. That it's inevitable and in a way, but I don't really believe it obliterates everything, but I don't really believe that. I believe, see, I'm trying to put the two together. They're not opposite to me. They're, I guess this is the simplest way I can say it right now, and as much as I can access right now. Doing the small things the best I can is just on the path to dying. I'm not doing this justice. I can't reach any farther, sorry. But those two, what seem like polarities, are not for me. They seem connected, and I can't really put it together right now. Sorry.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to kind of reflect back what I think I heard.
Yeah.
Certainly that part about doing the best we can and in the moment of whatever we're doing, that, whatever task. And then what I'm hearing is in the context of death feeling much more imminent, it kind of maybe blasts open this bigger sense that is not separate from the doing the best we can in the moment. Is that kind of it?
Yes, it doesn't negate doing the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it
more meaningful.
Yes, it makes it more important somehow.
Yeah.
It puts weight on it, not, like, oh my God, I have to do it, but just like, this is my life now, and I have to give it the best I can. but not as a burden, but just as a beauty, as a joy. Somehow it makes it everything more relevant, and I like that. I mean that's thank you. That helps a little bit. There's a lot. These things we talk about are deep and not so clear, but they're real. So it's sometimes hard to express.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I think you did say it.
Yeah.
And also thank you for modeling being a work in progress. And I love that we workshopped it together.
She's nodding and smiling.
Yeah,
Over here.
I'm nodding and smiling. Thank you, Grace.
Ariane's coming up to say something.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for that bit you said about how you figured, well, okay, even if people say I'm bad at something, or they dissipate, that there's an advantage to that. I don't have to do that much work, or I'll have more time to meditate. I think I appreciate that you said that, because I think I do have an instinctive reaction that's similar to that when in a lot of my life. For me, that's actually equanimity. It's when it's like, I realize there's actually part of me that's kind of relieved that could happen, or I can see that they managed to a situation where I have a colleague who announces that they don't want to do this project anymore, and poof, I'm like, well, good, that means I don't have to do that work anymore. But then there's a critical voice in me that I think says that I'm being too complacent in life with that attitude. And I appreciate, and I think I get a lot more validation in the world for that critical voice. And so I appreciate the fact that you seem to be lobbying for the equanimity voice. And maybe I need to acknowledge that voice more in me. So thank you for that.
Yay. I mean, I think in my life, the most important thing is practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I may be doing less on the outside, but the practice can be richer. Or I could be doing more on the outside and the practice can be richer. But yeah.
Just sit up here, Jay. It's okay.
Hi, Grace. I'm Jay. I'm new. Very interesting talk. I'm just wondering, how much time do you practice each day, every day, or like accumulatively? How long do you practice?
Every waking minute.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Wow. That's powerful. I wish I could do that.
I have a funny thing. I was telling the story this morning about Ajahn Ganha saying to clean your bathroom twice a day. And it was funny because there were two other nuns there besides us, or three, I guess, but two of them in attendance that night. And one of them is thinking to herself, well, stressed out about it. She's like, but I clean my bathroom all the time, every day. It's like nice and clean. I don't know why he's saying that. And she was taking it as he was talking to her. And the other nun was like, oh, he's talking to me. So it's like, and it was clear to us, at least, that he really was talking to Ayasantuska in that instance.
But he could have been talking to
He could have been.
more
I
people.
can vouch. I was there for the conversation.
Ariane
she
was
having
there.
doubts about the bathroom.
Yes, Ariane was witnessing this little action.
She
going on.
knows.
They were sharing a bathroom, so they were like, in my mind, they were like But and then Ajahn Suchart saying that, telling this person that, oh, it's because you lose mindfulness that you cry during chanting. It's like maybe he was just talking to that person who was asking the question, and like with his psychic abilities that are, I'm sure, just as, I mean, how do I know, right? But the reputation of his psychic powers is just as good as the reputation of Ajahn Gunha's psychic powers. So they kind of are tuning in to whoever it is they're talking to, perhaps. And even if it, just to not, I don't know, have people not have faith, I guess, in enlightenment folks to know what they're talking about. It's not so much like a mistake, maybe, as it is a how we're interpreting things they're saying or whatever. And knowing that there's never any like malice in it or any meaning to, and no real intention to harm ever. There's nothing that's going to come out of their mouths out of greed, hatred, or delusion. So it's just the regular delusion or the regular, like,
Not no.
everyday socials, foible or something else. It's not like, trying to hurt someone. And it's true. It's like we do this all the time ourselves in our daily lives. We don't have a bad intention, and we don't understand someone else's wiring or how it's going to come off for them. And we say and do things that cause pain. And it's a good reminder for us that, like, when somebody else does that, not knowing our wiring, not knowing how we're going to take it, to not take it personally, and recognize that if we didn't have these buttons in ourselves to push, then somebody else, the same exact thing this person said or did, could not land and have no effect on them at all. So, things to think about. I'm done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good point.
Stepping on an ant when it's dark. You
Yeah.
didn't see it, but you killed it.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the way it is living in the physical world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the devas get embarrassed. I
Yeah.
Do you have any stories of Deva embarrassment?
Okay. This is, I need to say, I like promised them that I wouldn't embarrass them in public. So
Oh,
Can't.
okay.
you can ask me in private.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's got to go make friends with
That's a
Grace
great
now.
answer. That's a great answer.
Invite Grace to dinner.
If there are no more questions or shares, then we could enjoy the obvious benefit of 19 minutes of meditation.
I think that'd be great. Let's settle in.
Yes. Ayos, will you ring the bell at the end?
Yeah, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Bye, Steve. Great to have you with us. Okay, everyone. Thank you all.
Till next time.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Take care.